Hey, Larry here. Acts 29 today. Coming to you from Sunny World headquarters in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I'd like to welcome all the viewers here in Thailand and around the world. So, last time I left you, I had gone to the $100 counselor. And I was, not looking forward really to spending the $100 on this deal. But it was what it was. So I went. And the first half an hour, I talked about all the kind of the stuff, that had gone on in my life up to this point, and all the pain and all the stuff that had happened to me in my life. And he went on to say that you've got, seems like you have a fair amount of pain in your life, about different things that happened in your childhood and with your parents and, in your marriage and with different things. So then he said something that was worth the $100, and it was the best $100 I ever spent. What he said to me was this. He said, Larry, you are going to need to face the pain. You're going to need to face the pain. Well, that was a new one on me. So I'm like, what? Face the pain? What? That doesn't sound good to me. But what are you talking about? He said, all this pain, he said, if you try to just, walk away from it, it'll always come back at some point in time. And it tends to be an irresistible pastime, because you keep thinking about this pain here, there, and everywhere, and it tends not to go away. But he said, if you face the pain, if you come face to face with the pain, and you realize that you cannot go back in time, you can't go back to that place in history in your past and change anything. Yourself, your parents, your wife, your husband, whoever, you can't change any of that. It's already happened and it's over. So you face the pain. You just come face to face with it and you say, okay, I recognize that this was a great source of pain in my life, but there's nothing I can do about it now. If I need to make amends now, I can do that. I can ask for forgiveness and that kind of thing. But what happened, and I'm going to face it right now and recognize that Jesus was there. He was with me in all those circumstances. And now that I've faced this and realized that I can't change it, I can't go back, but I can go on. So I'm going to face these pains one at a time, and then I'm going to deal with that and move on. That way, I'm free from that pain forever. It just disappears out of my life because I faced it. I dealt with it, and then, like they say, when you have a broken heart, cry yourself a river, build a bridge and get over it. And I've had to do that a few times too. So it ended up that this facing the pain was one of the things that helped me throughout my whole life, because it wasn't just at that time that I had to deal with some pain. That was 40 years ago or whatever. Well, I've had a fair dose of pain after that, but I knew what to do now with that pain. I knew I had to face the pain. I couldn't just try to bury it, walk away from it without facing it, or just be meditating on it all the time, like, well, I wonder why that happened. Was that my fault? What could I have done different? And going through all this stuff. I faced the pain. I dealt with the pain. I can't go back and change it. If I need to make restitution, ask forgiveness, I will. But then I will move on and leave that completely out of my life. So I was thinking about all this one day, and my brother and I, we didn't have a very close relationship with my dad. My dad was a little closer to me than my brother, and my brother always complained about not having that kind of a close relationship that I think he wanted with his dad. For me, I had been alone a lot in my life, and so I wasn't on the same place that my brother was. I didn't need that bad. I didn't notice it that much like he did, because he complained about it all the time, and I never complained about it at all, even though I knew it was there. So I thought one day, well, I'm going to ask my dad about this. And so I gingerly asked him one day when we were alone in the house, why did he think that it was that he didn't have a close relationship with his older son? I just used that for an example. And he just looked off like this into space, and he just stared like at the wall, and he never said anything. He never said one word. He was just staring off into space. And I realized something in that moment, that he didn't have whatever it was going to take to have that close relationship. Now, it's maybe not that he didn't want it. I don't think it was that he didn't want to have a close relationship with Dan, but he didn't know how. He didn't have a grid. He didn't have any background. He didn't have anything to draw from to do that. At that point in his life, it wasn't there. And I just recognized that immediately. And so I said, hey, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And we moved on, because I realized that he didn't have that. And then later in life, I remembered that I'd go to dinner with my first wife, and and she would always ask me these questions about why I wasn't doing this or that or the other or something, and I remembered myself that when she'd ask me these questions, I'd just kind of look off into space, and and there was nothing coming to my mind, because I didn't have what it took to do what she was asking for at that time. I didn't have it. And so it was a little bit of a revelation to me that when this happened. And then later on, I would be the one staring off into space because I didn't have, what it took at that time. So what I did is I made out a list on a piece of paper of all the pain in my life that I could think of. And I went down to the river, I took a book of matches, and there was these big rocks along the river, and I sat on one of these rocks, and I went through this list of pain in my life. And each one of them I faced that day. I faced the pain. I dealt with the pain, and I dismissed it and walked away from it and deleted it because I knew I couldn't change. I can't go back and relive this. It's already been done. Okay, there's no, in life, there's very seldom a take two. Okay, everything is a wrap. That means it's done. And very seldom do you get a second chance to go back and do something again and do it right where it might have been wrong the first time. So I took the list, faced the pain, and did all that, lit a match and burned that paper, and I just saw all that pain go up into the air in a puff of smoke. And then I simply walked away. I did that as a visual so that I would never forget that I dealt with that pain. And I've had to do that more than once, of course. About this time also, there were some things at that second church I was going to that wasn't going good, and I just got to the point to where I left, and so I left that church. And then about a year later, after I left, many of the leadership people began to leave for all the various reasons that it happens a lot, and usually it's with the head pastor being controlling and not allowing other people to minister in their ministries and that kind of stuff, wanting all the control and all that. And so one by one, these really good people that God had sent, they just began to leave. And so it wasn't too long after these people began to leave that the people began to leave, and I think it was maybe a year or something after I had left that the whole thing folded and was gone. And the pastor went back to some little place that he'd been before, and that was the end of that whole deal. And so it was about that time that I started thinking about something, and I began to start thinking about some of these things that I'd been experiencing in the body of Christ, the ecclesia. And so in the next video, I'm gonna jump into that and some more stuff, and we're gonna keep cruising on. And I want to thank you for sticking with me and watching and picking up what you can by the Spirit. So I'll see you in the next video.